Warriors Fastbreak on HBC TV 25 is brought to you by Jefferson Pub Grill. Meet me at the levee for fabulous food and drinks at Jefferson Pub Grill. Come check out their great nightly specials and limited time offer menu. Jefferson Pub Grill. Hello again, everybody, and welcome to Warriors Fast Break on HBC TV 25. We'll start out by talking about Warrior women's basketball first. Coach Scott Ballard joins us. Thanks for joining us again. And you had a pretty exciting night on Friday night.
It was bizarre, to say the least. At the end of the game, with 4.5 seconds to go, they have the ball on their sideline in front of their bench, and
you're up by 2.
Yeah, we're up 2, and they're Taylor Varsho, preseason conference player of the year. She catches the ball running with her back to the basket. She's running towards half court and catches it. I think she took one bounce and turned and launched it and hit nothing but net from about the 10-foot line where the volleyball spiking line is located. And she hits that, the horn goes off, students and their bench, they all storm the court, and we're just all kind of stunned, and the officials decide to review the monitor to see if there was some time that should be put back on the clock, and they decided to put 0.4 seconds back up on the clock, and it would be our ball, and then they called a technical on the home team because of people storming the court before the game was officially over. Mm-hmm. Well, then we get awarded 2 free throws, and Alexis Foley calmly knocks those down, and we win the game. And so there's a lot of mixed emotions, and then we find out yesterday afternoon, we get a memo from the conference office that the officials incorrectly, they had a misinterpretation of the rule, and that we should not have shot 2 free throws. We should have just had the ball with 0.4 seconds to go, which we would have advanced it to our end and tried to do something desperate. But it's an unfortunate situation in that you don't want to see a team win or lose a game that of that magnitude in that way based on a misinterpretation.
Right.
When the officials were all trying to decide what they were doing, if you've coached for a while, you know that it's not right for people to be on the floor before the game is over. Mm-hmm. And so I asked one official at one point in time, I said, is this a technical situation? And lo and behold, when they got together, they ended up calling it that way. And you don't feel bad about it if it's correct. Mm-hmm. But then yesterday we find out it's incorrect, and then you feel bad about it.
Right.
But I don't feel bad about asking or inquiring. It's totally up to those officials to make a ruling on it, and they're trained for that. They are experienced, and they just got it wrong. And so it's unfortunate for Sioux Falls. They get a loss from that. It's unfortunate for us because that win is tainted. It's unfortunate for the officials. They've been reprimanded. It's unfortunate for, the clock keeper. It's just unfortunate for a lot of people.
Sure.
But it's a perfect example when you have the human element involved, how something can go wrong or misinterpret that. But everybody's got to move on, and there's a lot of basketball to be played. So, the focus now will be the next weekend coming up when we make a long trip to McGlone and Minot.
Yeah, your longest road trip of the year. Talk about what was it like after that game and then heading to the next day on Saturday when you had to play again. I mean, what were the emotions like afterwards?
Well, it was a totally different atmosphere at Sioux Falls, because of the top two teams in the division playing each other. High energy, a lot. They had a good crowd, a lot of students there. Intense game. That's what's a shame about the ending of the game, is that people forget about how many plays were made back and forth, and it was a close game, and it was a really good basketball game, but it gets overshadowed by the way that it ended.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's move on to the game against Southwest then the next night, because Hannah McGlone, who's going to be the guest today, had a big night, 19 rebounds. Talk about her performance.
Well, she quietly gets a lot done, and she's kind of in the shadows of some of our more high-profile scoring players on our team. But she starts for a reason, and she's a really good rebounder at both ends of the floor. Gets us extra possessions on the offensive end off of misses, and then defensively does a good job of boxing out. But the ball came her way a lot, and she was ready. I think she had 7 offensive boards and 12 defensive, and if I had any knowledge of what the rebounding record was for a single game or how close she was to it, I would have left her in a few more minutes to see if she could have accomplished that. But she's got 2.5 years to try to top that.
Do it again.
She did a great job. Yeah,
she was one short. The record was 20, which was, I believe, set in 1989. So it's a fairly old record that's set. You also had Kayla Timmerman go for 22 points in that game, too.
Yeah. Well, that was a good bounce back game for Kayla, because the night before against Sioux Falls, she was only 2 for 12 from the field and rushed some shots and took some lower percentage shots, and so she was more patient on Saturday. And we played a lot of power basketball against Southwest. They're smaller, and we felt like that was a big advantage for us. And honestly, the last couple of weekends, we've not shot the ball real well from the perimeter, and if we did, it wasn't. It was only like one perimeter player. So we've not had balanced scoring the last 4 games, which has made it more challenging for us to put as many points on the board as what we're accustomed to. And then I think teams are trying to keep us from getting in transition. They're keeping 3 or 4 people back and trying to limit easy scoring opportunities. And then they're hugging our shooters and making us try to do more stuff off the dribble and prove that our post people can do some damage inside. So we're having to make some adjustments, but we've got to get Tara back on track, and she got hit in the mouth in the Sioux Falls game early in the second half and got 3 stitches, but she's going to be okay. So we got some work to do and a lot of things to look forward to.
All right, we're going to take a break here on Warriors Fast Break. When we come back, we'll get the player perspective. As we said, Hannah McGlone will join us right after this. Warriors Fast Break on HBC TV 25 is brought to you by Jefferson Pub Grill. Meet me at the levee for fabulous food and drinks at Jefferson Pub Grill. Come check out their great nightly specials and limited time offer menu. Jefferson Pub Grill.
Get an inside look at the Winona State basketball program with Warriors Fast Break on TV 25, brought to you by Jefferson Pub Grill. Host Justin Barrientos sits down with the Warriors head coaches each week to break down last week's game and to look ahead at WSU's next opponent, as well as chat with Winona State players. Tune in at 4:30 p.m. on Thursdays, 6 p.m. on Fridays, 7 a.m. on Saturdays, and before every Warrior home game for Warriors Fast Break on HBC, brought to you by Jefferson Pub Grill.
And welcome back to Warriors Fast Break, brought to you by Jefferson Pub Grill, joined now by Hannah McGlone. Thanks for coming back on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, let's talk about this game against Sioux Falls first. I want to kind of get the range of emotions as a player. You see that three-pointer go in from long distance. What are you thinking right away?
I think right away you just start thinking about, like, once it left our hands, the first thing I did was turn to see if it would go in, and then when it did, I remember making eye contact with Alexis Foley, and we both, like, instantly were just like, that's game, like, that's got to be it. And then it's like, you got to respect her, because it was a phenomenal shot, like an impressive shot. And then you also got to respect the team, like, you fought hard the whole game. Mm-hmm. But in the back of your head, you're just thinking about the things that you could have done that could have put you over maybe 3 points or even 4 points, so it wouldn't have mattered if she did or not.
How do you then recover from that game emotionally to come back and play a game the next night then, and maybe try to forget about that game?
It's kind of hard, like the forgetting. You don't really forget a game like that. You got to put it behind you though. It's in the past. You can't change it. You can't carry it around with you. But I know going into the Southwest game, we wanted to show people that it's like we can play. Like this is our game. Like we're here to play. Like we just want to play.
Well, you certainly did, because you had 19 rebounds then the next night. As we said, it was just one off the record, but it was a record at the RA facility in Southwest. As you're going through that game and you're getting these rebounds, I mean, what's going on in your head? Are you thinking, how is it so easy to get these rebounds, or was it a struggle to get all the rebounds that you got?
You have a lot of faith in your shooters, and then you just kind of, on the off chance that they do miss it, you want to be in good positioning. And I learned that a lot from my coaches. Hear it quite often, but I don't know. I actually, like, in the course of the game, you don't realize it as much. I know, like, I didn't realize it at all until our GA, Coach Katie, mentioned it after the game. She kind of gave me this weird look, and I was like, why? Like, what did I do? Like, am I in trouble? And she just kind of jokingly, she's like, I'm just looking at your rebounds. And I was like, oh, okay. And she said it was 19. Like, my mouth dropped, and, like, I know Foley was around, and she was just like, you had 19? And it was just one of those, like, you don't realize it in the course of the game, but I guess it happened.
You know when a person has 19 rebounds by themselves that there was a lot of missed shots by both teams.
True, that is true.
Yeah.
All right, so somebody's got to clean that up. But I mean, going back to that point, I mean, you said you didn't know that it was close to a record, but you obviously had to know that there were a lot that were going on. Is there anything in your mind as you're seeing that kind of performance? Does that change any way that you're playing the game to maybe get her in position, because she's obviously having a good night under the basket?
No, I mean, obviously what she was doing was working, so why change anything,
Right.
you know? But, you know, she anticipates well. You know, she's not a great jumper. She jumps like me, but she does a good job of boxing out and anticipates well. You know, she's active on the boards, and, you know, she's one of the top offensive rebounders in the league, and is working her way up, you know, on the defensive end as well. But, you know, we would like to see her be a little bit more aggressive when she does get some of those offensive rebounds, see if she can score it.
Yeah.
But she did a good job of kicking it out, and we got a few three-point shots from it.
All right. Now, you're kind of no stranger to getting totals like this. Looking back at your high school career again, I know we talked about it a little bit the last time you were here, but you had one season where you had 154 blocked shots in high school, which is almost 5 a game. Talk about that. I mean, what was it like to go through that season and to have that many blocks? Did it seem easy to you?
I wouldn't say easy so much, but it was kind of like, there's a few teams in like our conference that I did have a height advantage over. So, and I was mainly like, other posts in our conference, they weren't like as strong, or like not even that, but like weren't as aggressive, so they would stay outside more. And our coach would mainly just put me in the middle lane and just say, if we get beat, do what you need to. And I guess that's what I kind of did.
Yeah. That's why she's got 5 this year.
See, there's always
Remember my
something
jumping problem?
Yeah. All right, let's just do one more thing about high school, because you were a multi-sport athlete. I think we might have talked about that you played volleyball, but you also played soccer as well. I know that there was one time where you were playing with your club team, the Sabres, and you ended up having to play goalie. You had never played goalie before. What was that like to have to step into that situation? My
head coach in soccer actually jokingly said, he's like, well, we went through 2 goalies. Like, let's put you in there. You're the tallest on the team. And I did play goalie like when I was younger. I started out in the net because I wasn't a fan of running, I'll be honest. And then I ended up hating the net. I couldn't stand it. But he put me in there for a couple of games and actually kept me in there for a little longer than I expected. And I like playing the field. I like being on the field. And I don't know, it was weird, but I guess you could use your hands. So that was pretty cool. But
all right, last question. We'll get back to Winona State. You have Mary and Minot coming up, long road trip. How do you keep yourself focused on the road trips, especially when they're as long as they are to North Dakota? I
think on the road, it's a lot like, we're always with our team. And I remember me and Foley talked about it last time we were both on here together. We spend a lot of like outside time with the team. I know on the road trips, we try not to focus so much like 100% all the time on the game. We try to like relax and like, all right, when we get there, that's when it's business. That's when we focus. That's when we get our, like, that's when we start thinking like, this is what we're gonna do. Like, we prepare all week, and then I think personally, like, I take the bus to try to like take a step back, like remember like I'm lucky enough to play this game, and I'm lucky enough to be with these 15 like girls that love to play the game with. So.
All right. Well, good luck this week on the big road trip. And thank you for joining us. We're going to take a break here on Warriors Fast Break. When we come back, we'll switch to the men's side and have head coach Todd Eisner when we come back right after this. Warriors Fast Break on HBC TV 25 is brought to you by Jefferson Pub Grill. Meet me at the levee for fabulous food and drinks at Jefferson Pub Grill. Come check out their great nightly specials and limited time offer menu. Jefferson Pub Grill. Tune in for the Sports Buzz every Tuesday at 5:30 as a panel of local sports journalists tackle the hottest topics on everything from local high school and collegiate sports to regional discussion about the Twins, Brewers, Vikings, and Packers. With the Power Play Fantasy Football Challenge to the Rant of the Week and NFL Pick'em, the Sports Buzz is fast-paced and sure to entertain. That's new episodes of the Sports Buzz every Tuesday at 5:30 with replays only on HBC TV 25. And welcome back to Warriors Fast Break. Now talking about men's basketball. Head coach Todd Eisner back with us. Thanks for joining us again. Let's talk about this weekend, Sioux Falls and Southwest. Talk about the Friday night game first. We have highlights from the Sioux Falls game. Unfortunately, it was a loss, 83-78. But I know one of the things that we talked about the last time that you were here was that your younger players are starting to play a little bit better. And in that game, you were kind of led by your freshman players.
Yeah, we had two really good performances by Charlie Kuntz and Connor Flack. And started off really slow, and I thought that was really the key to the game in terms of us kind of swimming upstream from the start. They scored, I think, 14 points in the first 2.5 minutes and really put us back on our heels and did a nice job of battling back. But we got really good performances from Charlie off the bench and Connor off the bench, and hopefully that's something we can get moving forward.
Isaiah Gray also had double figures in the game. I think he had like 4 players that were in double figures in that game. How is it to get that kind of contribution from a number of different players?
Well, I think we talked about it earlier in the year. I mean, we're not quite sure yet where it's coming from. We've got, I think, good depth, but we'd like a little more consistency out of everybody. And if we know we can get 12 points a game out of somebody, we'd like them to get 12 points a game, and
sure.
and not 21 game and 4 the next. So we're striving for consistency of effort, consistency of production from all of our guys, and with that, we don't know exactly who's going to be the one scoring the points, but I think it makes us more difficult to play against when we do have depth that we can utilize in that manner.
Even though it was a loss, you shot well, 45% from the floor, 50% from three-point range against Sioux Falls, and then that carried over until the next game against Southwest.
Yeah, we really shot the ball well from the arc, all weekend. The problem on Friday night was it was to catch up,
yeah.
And we did that. We had, I think, 3 possessions with a chance to take the lead in the last 4 minutes of the game, and just didn't get shots to go down. And but like I said, we started off really slow. We battled back towards the end of the first half, and then we had a really bad, about a 1.5-minute stretch right before the end of the half where it went from 2 points to 10 points. And so we went down 10 and then figured out a way to get the ball in our hands with a chance to lead, which we've done unfortunately too many times so far in the first 10 games. And we've got to figure out a way to get leads, secure leads, and hold leads and finish games.
Okay, let's talk about then that Southwest game, 77-69. Ended up hitting 15 three-pointers, again about 50% from beyond the arc. Was that the key, the hitting the three-pointers, or was something else that happened in there?
Well, it was a flip of the script from Friday. We started out, we were up 20-4. So you go from being down 16-5 on Friday to being up 20-4 on Saturday. So, we started out with a much better production level, maybe got Southwest back on their heels a little bit and never really let them back into the game. They did rally a little bit in the first half, and then we made another run to bump it open again and did a nice job in the second half of keeping our momentum on the offensive end of the floor. And I thought, other than fouling too much and putting them at the free throw line, we did a good job of producing on the defensive end also.
Kyle Bauman is going to be our guest a little bit later, but he hit one of the first ones of the night, and he's had a pretty good year from beyond the three-point arc. Talk about his performance so far.
Well, it's unique. When you have your starting center, that's your, probably arguably your best three-point shooter. Kyle's shooting over 60% on the year from the three-point line, and so it gives us some opportunities to draw some things up offensively that I think it makes him difficult to guard and makes us difficult to play against, because not many defensive post players are used to having to defend away from the basket, and Kyle gives us the opportunity to spread the floor a little bit and utilize his skill set in a little different manner than a traditional center.
And I know that we've been talking about it all season long and the whole time that you've been here at Winona State, and I hate to keep going back to it, but are you feeling a little bit more comfortable on the road? Because I know that last year it was a problem playing on the road, and this year you said it was going to be a concern that you're going to try to get worked out. Is it getting a little bit easier on the road?
Well, I think it's just a mindset. It's a mentality that you take into the game, and You've got elements that you can use as an excuse to put yourself behind the 8 ball before the game ever starts, whether it's the travel, whether it's the hotels, whether it's the weather, whether it's the rims, whether it's the lighting. I mean, there's numerous things that you can use. We're trying to block all those things out and play the way we're capable of playing and concentrate on things that we need to do well each and every day. And I don't really care where we play, and I don't care how many people are at the game, and I don't care what the gym looks like. I mean, none of that matters to me. If you've got a tough-minded team that understands what it takes to be successful, you should be able to do that whether you're at home or away. And I think we're getting closer. Our losses at home, Moorhead obviously got us a little bit, but Northern was a close game, and then the losses in the league have all been close on the road. So we've got to figure out a way to just not lose close games. We've got to figure out a way to win those games, and hopefully we can continue to make strides in that direction.
Health has been a concern. I know that last week when we talked about Josh Mongan, he was heading in to get the knee looked at. How are things going with him?
He's obviously a week out of recovery from knee surgery. I know he's in a little pain right now, so we're going to have to kind of monitor that and see where his recovery time is going to be. I mean, they project 3 to 4 weeks, but every surgery situation is a little bit different, and so we've got to do our best to see if we can get him back, number one. And then we lost Mason to a sprained ankle in the Moorhead game, and he didn't play this weekend. And then we lost Connor Flack on Saturday to another sprained ankle, and he's got to go see Dr. Romaine tomorrow. So we were down to, I think, 11 guys in the Southwest game in the first half, and Nick Arns even played some on the perimeter for us because of foul trouble. So, I anticipate right now possibly being limited in terms of numbers this weekend, and we're going to have to figure out a way to still be successful, even with a short squad.
That can't be unique in your coaching career. I'm sure you faced that several times. I know some of your opponents have had like 4 players on the bench, even though they dress all the freshmen to make it look like they've had more players. So how do you deal with, how have you dealt with that situation in the past, and can you use that in coaching your kids now? Well,
I think it's different here in the Northern Sun because you play back-to-back nights. And I think, if you go in with a short bench and limited numbers, and then you use your starters for long minutes on Friday night, it certainly, you need to be very aware of keeping them off their feet during the week. You need to be very aware that we're in great condition and that we've got a toughness level to us that puts you in a position to be able to play at a high level both Friday and Saturday night, and that'll be the challenge going into this weekend. Yeah, this weekend, McGlone and Minot, the longest road trip that you'll have this season. I don't know in your previous coaching career if you've had trips that long or longer in your conference, but how do you prepare for something like that? How do you keep your players fresh? Well, one, we need to have someone win the lottery and buy us a private jet, so we don't have to bus up there. But it's a challenge, but it's like anything else. It's a little bit of mind over matter, and Mary's playing very well. They're 13-3, 8-2 in the league, really athletic. Long, use great quickness, and put you in compromised positions when you're on the defensive end of the floor. And so we're going to have a great challenge there. And then Minot, and watching a little bit of them already today, runs a ton of set plays. And, to walk into that game with, 24 hours to prepare for it and be prepared from a defensive standpoint will also be a big challenge for us. All right, we're going to take a break here on Warriors Fast Break. When we come back, we'll talk with Kyle Bauman from the men's team right after this. Warriors Fast Break on HBC TV 25 is brought to you by Jefferson Pub Grill. Meet me at the levee for fabulous food and drinks at Jefferson Pub Grill. Come check out their great nightly specials and limited time offer menu. Jefferson Pub Grill. Welcome back to Warriors Fast Break. Time now to talk to Kyle Bauman. Thank you for joining us here today.
Yes.
Let's talk a little bit about how your season has gone so far. I want to start out with when Muhammad Ali Ben Ammar goes down for an injury, and it looks like that means that you're going to have to pick up a little bit more of the slack, and you have to play maybe a little bit more posts and maybe be a little bit more productive offensively because you're missing that extra player. What kind of goes through your mind when you see one of your teammates go down with an injury?
Yeah, I mean, when Mo got hurt in practice that one day, I was like scared at first. I was like, he's a good player and very productive on offense and stuff. And so I knew I had to pick my game up after that. And I knew in the long run that things were going to be tough and you're going to have to be consistent on a night-to-night basis and stuff like that. So
now, Coach Eisner was talking before about how unique it is to have one of your post players be one of your top 3-point shooters, and you're having a great season from beyond the arc. Talk about how that's going for you so far.
Over the summer, I guess one of my main goals is to extend my range a little bit, and worked on that over summer and shooting the ball well lately.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, that was kind of the way things went when you played in Puerto Rico when the Warriors were out there, and I think you had a couple of really good games out there, and then it kind of carried over to the rest of the season, didn't it?
Yeah, I mean, started out the year shooting the ball well, and I mean, once you get a little confidence, it makes shots go in a little bit easier.
All right. Coach, can you talk a little bit about, you kind of talked about it in that first segment, but just to be able to have that kind of versatility from one of your players?
Yeah, no question about it. I mean, Kyle, obviously I can't speak for what he did this summer, but you can tell that he's someone that's really worked on his game. And, I think it's really, really important that our guys understand the importance of the off season. And, in talking to Coach Melvick, I think he felt like our guys were really productive in the off season, and it's important as they continue to move through their career that we see continued growth and development in the things that they do well, but also in the things that they need to get better at. And that's weight room, that's obviously skill set, and Kyle's done a really nice job of being a productive player for us, leading us in scoring and rebounding now through 14 games.
One of the things that we talked about with a bunch of different players was the holiday break that came up, and that's how that's unique to basketball, where you play for a while and then you got some time off and then you have to come right back. What were some of the things that you did during the holiday break to keep yourself fresh?
I mean, the holiday break's always tough because you're playing so well going into it, and then all of a sudden you don't have practice for a while, and you got to try and keep in shape. So I mean, I try and get in the gym just about every day over break, get some shots up, do a little bit of running. But it's tough to emulate practice situations when you're at home working in the gym by yourself. So.
Sure. I want to go back to your high school career a little bit in Wells at United South Central, just because we talked about how versatile you've had to be this season. That was the way that you were in your senior season. According to something that I saw, you led your team in scoring, rebounds, assists, steals, and blocks. That's a pretty good all-around season.
Yeah, I guess I had to do a lot of things back in my high school team, but just try to do anything I can to keep the team winning games and stuff. And I thought that if I wasn't as productive as I could be, that we weren't going to win a whole lot of games. So.
Is that something that conditioning plays into, that you're going to have to be running around the court doing all those different things? I mean, how much did you have to focus on that to get yourself ready for those types of games?
I mean, yeah, looking ahead, I mean, you're gonna know you're gonna have to play a lot of minutes in every game. So preparing for every game is really important to make sure you're eating right and keeping your body well.
You're a multi-sport athlete in high school. You played first base for your baseball team,
Yep.
and then you also played tight end for the football team. Was basketball always your favorite? Did you just kind of play those sports just to play them, or what was that like?
Oh yeah, I guess basketball's always been my favorite sport. The main reason I stayed in all the other sports was A, to get a break from basketball, and B, because all my friends were all in the same sport, so I stayed in touch with those guys a lot. So.
Coach, when you're recruiting, how important is it to find multi-sport athletes and find people that have excelled in other things just besides basketball?
I think it's really important, and it's becoming more and more difficult to find young people that are involved in multiple sports. I think things become so specialized in this day and age. You hear about the AAU and summer ball, and young people are playing 80 games in the summer. And we really do like people that are playing multiple sports, and in particular in football. I think when you play football and the physicality of the game of football, and understanding you're going to get hit and you need to hit, and that carries over onto the basketball court. So when we find young people that certainly excel in football and are excellent basketball players, I think that bodes well for their future. But I also think when you get someone that's involved in other sports, I think their ceiling to get better as basketball players it can be much greater because they haven't concentrated on just basketball. And then when we get to the college level and they spend 10 or 11 or 12 months a year on just basketball, hopefully we see some huge growth in their game. So we certainly are going to identify young people that are involved in football in particular, but sports in general.
The NSIC has had a reputation of being kind of a bruising league down under the basket. I mean, is that the case, do you feel? And how much has your football background kind of played into that?
Oh yeah, I definitely agree with that. I guess all 4 years now that I've been here, that the post game is definitely the most physical thing I've ever been a part of. Even playing football in high school is still pretty physical. And I guess with the new rules now, they kind of hold you back a little bit with that, but they still let you play a little bit in the post.
Okay, and then final question, you have the big road trip coming up this weekend, U-Mary and Minot. What are some of the things that you do on the long road trip to kind of get yourself ready for those games that are coming up?
I guess Coach always gives us a scouting report on teams, and so I read over that a bunch and then just try and stay off my feet. I mean, the bus trips this one's going to be really long, I guess, and so just try and get some rest and stay off your feet and be fresh and ready to go when games come.
All right, well, good luck this weekend.
Thank you.
All right, thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next week here on Warriors Fast Break.